Hey everyone,
Hi,
I am Alvin,
and I'm Marcy.
and this is Life
Life
and
and
Marriage
Marriage
with
with
Alvin
Alvin
and
and
Marcy.
Marcy.
How are you today, Mars?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
Good, good, good. So I guess we probably need to put a trigger alert out, so to speak, for this segment because we will be getting into a serious discussion
Hmm.
about some of the challenges that we had immediately after we began our relationship.
Yeah.
So let's talk.
Okay, let's have the conversation. Let's go.
So at this point in our relationship, where were we?
Well, we had been dating since, well, we met on July 10th, 1982. And over about through August, and we were dating and seeing each other on a regular basis. So things were getting really good and comfortable, and we were exclusively dating one another, so
Right.
there was no other people on the side or whatever. And then September rolls around.
Yeah, like Marcy said, we had begun to get serious.
Mhm.
There was no doubt again in my mind that Marcy was the one that was supposed to be in my life. And well, again, she said we were comfortable, which we were.
Mhm.
But when September rolled around, uh, I had to tell her something. And I went to her, we got in a safe place, and I said, Marcy, there's something I have to tell you. Um, it was very hard
Mhm.
uh, to speak with her about, uh, but I couldn't avoid it. Uh, it was September, 2 months after we met, that I found out that I was going to uh, be a father of someone that I dated months before I met Marcy. And it shocked me, to say the least. Uh, I don't know where my emotions were at the time, but I know that this is something that I couldn't hold back. I wasn't the type of person who would have ghosted her, just disappeared. I owe her an explanation. And so I went to her and I had the conversation.
Wow. I think back now, it makes me wonder, how were you feeling during that time, knowing that you had to tell me that here we've been dating these last 2 months, enjoying one another, learning so much about one another, and also even can identify with some of the life experiences that we were going through. And then this happens, and now you have to tell me, where was your head space at that time?
It's hard to describe because I remember the point, the day where I was when I prayed for you to come in my life. I didn't know it was you at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember this praying for you. So there was a space in my neighborhood uh, that was a common area that overlooked a creek, and the background was a shopping center over there. But I was sitting on top of a hill, very lonely that day, and I just asked God, God, I want somebody in my life. I want somebody who would love me for me. I don't, people I'm hanging around with now, I really don't. They're not for me. And so I prayed for you. So when I got that news, I went back on that hill and I'm going, God, this is not the way that I planned it.
And I would like to kind of piggyback off of that because I had that same conversation with God. I needed him to send me someone, or someone find me and be this person. I didn't want them to have any children. I didn't want to deal with the drama of that. And I had certain criteria. There was certain criteria that I prayed for. And how many of you can identify that when you pray for something to God, or have a prayer request, but when it comes, it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like? So, like I said in the beginning, my idea of a mate was I didn't want him to have any children. Um, he needed to be able to work, and we support one another, and all those type of things. So I always say that, God has a sense of humor, because I'm like, God, this wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
This wasn't on my request list, children. So at that point, I had a decision to make. I went into prayer and I really said, God, you're going to have to help me with this, because this is going to be a problem for me.
Yeah, I can identify with your prayer request, because at that point, I had dated women with children, and it wasn't like I had anything against children. If the mother and I would have worked out, then the children would have been in my life. But they did not work out. And so I didn't have a thing against that. But I did, I preferred to have someone with no children. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why did you stay?
Why did I stay? Because, again, me and God was having some serious conversation. I'm like, God, this ain't even funny. I don't want no parts of this. And I said, I basically, I need you to tell me what I need to do, because at the time I was going to school in Philadelphia, and I lived on the outskirts of Philadelphia. And because I had family that lived in Philly, and I had an aunt who was like, you can come stay with me, and you can just take public transportation, easy access to my school and everything like that. And so I was like, okay, I got a plan. So if, this may not work out, I could just go stay in Philly, finish school, and start my career. But I went to church one Sunday, and this pastor was speaking about how we pray for things, and how we like to dictate to God how he's supposed to answer that prayer. So, and he basically said, God sees the bigger picture. You only seeing what's in front of you. And I just basically said, okay, God, look, you're going to have to just tell me what I need to do. And in my heart was saying, stay. But my mom was saying, girl, you do not want to deal with that. But me praying to God and really seeking his advice, I felt at ease when he told me, you need to stay. This is your husband. And I did that.
Wow. I'm glad you stayed, because when I came to you, I had prepared myself for you to head for the hills.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have blamed you. I wouldn't have blamed you. I often think about if it were the other way around, what would I have done? What would I have done?
I would really like to hear from our audiences, our audience, and as well as people who are watching our YouTube channel. We'd like to hear from you, because we're not the only ones that's been in this situation. We would like to hear how you felt in that situation, and what were your answers, or your decision to go which way that you decided to go with that. So we would love to hear from you because we're all here to help one another.
Yeah, yeah. And this, here's a question that I want to ask you.
Hmm.
You had a group of girlfriends, and some closer than others. But when you shared it with your group of girlfriends,
I love my girlfriends. I value their opinion. But all in all, sometimes we can't allow outside people of the relationship to dictate what decision we should make for our lives. I respect them. I heard their opinions. Some of them I agreed with, and some I didn't. So that's the first thing I want to say about having friends or when you even when you're married and having outside people dictating and telling you you should do this and you should do that. When you stand up to that altar before God, it was just you and your significant other.
yeah,
You know, yeah, they can say whatever they need to say about what you're going through, and then you got to be careful what you share with people, because it's really
yeah,
none of their business what's going on between that husband and wife or you two as a couple. So
yeah, yeah.
be very careful of who you let in on your relationships.
Absolutely. That's important. That's important.
Hmm.
And so with me, um, the group of guys that I was hanging around with, I don't believe I shared anything with them. Um, that was just my business. I was waiting for your answer, and I gave you some time.
Hmm.
But what made me most nervous, uh, what whose opinion mattered more to me than yours, were your parents. And so I remember the day that we went together uh, to tell her parents.
It was Super Bowl Sunday. I'll never
Really?
forget.
Who's playing?
I don't even remember.
Okay,
I
it
know
was
it was Super Bowl Sunday.
Listen, I couldn't tell you what day it was, what time it was. I was somewhere else. I mean, because that's just the way I was raised. Why did I go to their parents? Because she was still under their roof.
Hmm.
Uh, Again, she was fresh out of high school into a new relationship. I just wanted to assure them that I wasn't planning on going anywhere. After she assured me that she was going to stay with me, we went to her parents and told them.
Hmm.
And I still, I'm in total awe that her dad didn't tell me to get going.
No, he didn't. And I respect my dad because my dad was a man's man, okay? And what he wanted to know was, are you going to be taking care of this child? He wanted to make sure that he was going to be responsible because taking care of children is a big responsibility.
Yeah,
And that's more or less what he was coming at. And how are you guys are talking, maybe one day things may get even more serious. How are you going to handle having a child by someone else and then being in a marriage? So we'd like to hear your views on that issue as well.
absolutely. Again, we grew through it. We're hoping that you're able, if in the circumstances similar to that
Mhm.
you're able to grow through it. Let us know. Talk to us so we can continue to grow. So what we had was an immediate blended family, and so our next episode is going to be talking about a blended family. We were immediate before we even got married.
Yeah.
We were a blended family. I am so thankful that she stayed. One of the key things that I believe helped me was my honesty. it was no use to running and hiding. And this was something that I didn't want to just give up so easily. Again, if she would have headed for the hills, I would have had to accept her decision. Would I have pursued her? Probably so, but not stalk her. Let's get that clear. I would not try and change her mind from a decision that is soundly hers. I would have been available to her, but I'm thankful that she stayed. So again, we're here to help. We're here to share. This conversation between us some 40, almost 2 years ago, was not an easy conversation, but you have to have the conversation. Yes. You have to be honest. And the point that she made of you can't tell everybody everything, please pay attention to that. So, is that about it, Ms. Marcy, for this episode?
I think that's about it for this episode. But, do contact us. Do give us your opinion about what you heard and how you feel. If you were in that situation, we want to hear from you. You'll see our contact information on the screen. Yeah. So feel free to join our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook page. We would love to hear from you. If there's a topic that you may want to ask about, feel free to drop us a note. We would love to hear from you. So at this point, we're done with this episode.
Yes, and we look forward to hearing from you. And once again, I'm Alvin.
And I'm Marcy.
And this
is Life in Marriage with Alvin and Marcy.
See you soon.
Take care.